friends. And because of that, there really isn't a foundation of trust. And there's no way you can trust.
Did Sister Wives just flip the script? Again, for years we watched Kody Brown fight to escape Kody Brown's control, walk away from polygamy, and step into happily ever after with David Woolley. But now, with David calling polygamy abusive on national TV and Kody opening up about her past, the courts, and her devastating years with Kody, fans are wondering, well, are Kody and David really fighting behind closed doors about polygamy? Well, is Kody low-key defending Kody when it comes to control and the kids? Well, is this the first real crack in their perfect monogamous fairy tale? Stick around to the end because we're breaking down the polygamy versus monogamy debate, the new confessionals, the court drama, fan theories, and what this really means for Kody and David's marriage. Quick catch-up. Who's who and why this matters. All right, before we dive into the polygamy war that might be brewing in the Woolley Brown house, let's do a super fast refresh because this story goes back decades. Kody Brown, the former third wife of Kody Brown from the original Sister Wives polygamous family. 6 children with Kody, more than 25 years in a plural marriage, and she finally left him in 2021 after years of emotional neglect and feeling controlled. Kody Brown patriarch who wanted to be the king of a polygamous castle. 4 wives, 18 kids, one huge ego, and over time, a reputation for control, favoritism, and explosive arguments. David Woolley, the man who walked into Kody's life after the divorce. They met online, went public early in 2023, got engaged fast, and married in October 2023 in a fairy tale Moab, Utah wedding. Since then, Kody has said she feels like she was made for monogamy and is happier than ever in a one-man relationship with David. So, why are fans suddenly whispering about fights over polygamy and whether Kody is defending Kody's controlling behavior? Let's break it down. David's bold attack on polygamy. Recently, there's been a very different energy from David on Sister Wives and in previews. He's not just quietly supporting Kody, he's going off on the whole concept of polygamy. In a recent sneak peek and coverage, David opens up about how polygamy mentally damaged his sister. He explains that long before he even met Kody, he watched plural marriage hurt someone he loved. He talks about emotional trauma his sister had to deal with, the way plural marriage, in his eyes, becomes inherently unequal. But he straight out calls polygamy completely abusive in one recent report. This isn't some neutral, I personally don't like it opinion. This is, polygamy is abusive. It destroys people. It damaged my family. Now, on the surface, that lines up perfectly with what we've seen from Kody in later seasons. She was clearly miserable and ultimately devastated in her marriage to Kody. But here's where it gets messy. Kody's complicated history with polygamy. Kody's relationship with polygamy is not simple. Yes, she left. Yes, she's blasted Kody for being controlling, emotionally distant, and favoring Robin. She's all in with David on monogamy these days, and she has said things like she was made for monogamy, feels more independent and happier than ever. But remember, Kody spent the majority of her adulthood in a polygamous marriage. Tied to that lifestyle are her children and their childhoods. She once thought polygamy was a spiritual calling and a path to heaven. And even now, when she looks back, there are moments where she seems to say, I don't regret my kids. I don't regret the family we built. I regret how I was treated. So put yourself in Kody's shoes in this conversation with David. He claimed polygamy is abusive, period. She might agree when it comes to her experience with Kody, but she may also feel defensive about her past choices, her kids' memories, and even other women she still cares about who lived that life. That's where the potential clash starts to come into focus. Kody's control, Kody's memoir and new revelations. Now let's add another layer, Kody Brown's control. In her recent and upcoming memoir coverage, Kody has spoken about how Kody was controlling, how strict the rules were, and even how he would punish her if she spoke up or stepped out of line. We also see there have also been reports about their court fights about finances and child support that Kody ultimately won, with Kody ordered to pay support. Christine explaining how her move to Utah with Truly was, in her opinion, to protect her daughter from seeing Kody's worst sides. Her brutally honest reflections on how devastating those years were, including opening up about a secret oxycodone addiction she developed after surgery, during the time she was still in that marriage. So when we talk about control, we're not talking about a little micromanaging. We're talking about emotional neglect, unequal affection between wives, decisions made without real partnership. Her husband, who openly said he wasn't attracted to her anymore. From David's perspective, this fits well into his narrative that polygamy is abusive and harmful. From Christine's point of view, though, it's even more layered. This was the father of her children. This was her whole religious and social world for decades. This is the man she has dragged into court, but also the man her kids still have to co-parent with. So what happens when those worlds collide in a new marriage? The fight. How David and Christine could clash over polygamy. Let's be super clear. We are not privy to a camera inside of Christine and David's private conversations. What we do have is David on TV calling polygamy abusive and emotionally damaging. Christine publicly detailing the ways in which she felt controlled and devastated with Kody, while she still adores her children and much of their family history. And fans who are watching these episodes and asking, wait, what does this sound like when they're alone on the couch at night? So let's use what we know from their public statements to walk through a very realistic conversation, scenario that could be happening. David, I just don't get it, Chris. This whole thing, it's abusive. It messed up my sister. It messed up you. It messed up the kids. I just don't get how anyone can defend it. Christine, I'm not defending it, David. I lived it. I know how bad it got. But it wasn't all evil all the time. The kids had good moments. There were times when we laughed, when the family worked. I can't erase everything. David, I'm not saying erase it. I'm saying call it what it is. Kody controlled you. He controlled the money, the rules, the affection. You were miserable. Christine, I was miserable. But if I say it was all abuse, all the time, then what does that say about me? About the years I stayed? About the person I was back then? I wasn't stupid, David. I believed in something. I tried to make it work. David, I know you weren't stupid. I love you. But I can't pretend your ex isn't abusive. And I don't want Truly or any of the kids thinking that what he did was just a lifestyle that. Christine, sometimes I need space to talk about him as the kid's dad, not just the villain. They're already hurting. If all they hear is your dad is abusive, your whole childhood was toxic, that breaks them in a different way. See the tension? David wants it stated clearly. Polygamy equals abusive. Kody equals controlling and damaging. Christine wants nuance. Yes, he was controlling and it hurt me, but I don't want to erase everything and I still have to co-parent with this man. That's the fight over polygamy, and control fans are imagining not necessarily shouting matches, but deep emotional friction between two very different histories. Is Christine deaf? Now, let's address the more controversial fan theory. Christine is secretly defending Kody when David calls him controlling. Is that really what is happening? It is more realistic to look at it this way. Defending her kid's story. Christine knows that if you label their entire childhood as abusive, her kids will feel like their whole life was a lie. She's trying to thread a very thin needle. Acknowledge how Kody hurt her, without turning every memory into a horror story. Defending younger self. At this point, if she agrees that polygamy is only abuse, she has to face the question. Why did I stay for 25 years? That's painful. It's easier and more honest, actually, to say, I believed. I tried. There were good times. But it became toxic and controlling, and I finally chose myself. Conflict management for the children. Christine has already been to court battles with Kody. She has seen how ugly it can get. She might not want her new husband and ex-husband locked in a full nuclear war in the kids' minds. So when fans say, why does it sound like she's defending Kody sometimes? It might not be about protecting Kody. It might be about protecting her kids and her sanity. David's a non-negotiable, never again. On the other hand, let's be fair to David. This is a man who watched the polygamy hurt his own sister. then fell in love with a woman emotionally wrecked coming out of a plural marriage, then had to sit and watch seasons of Sister Wives and literally see his wife's trauma edited into episodes for the world. To David, this isn't just a theological disagreement. It's personal. So when he says things like, "It's abusive," I always look down on it. I don't see how it can ever be equal. He's not just criticizing Kody. He's critiquing the entire system that almost destroyed the woman he loves. And that leads to what I think is David's bottom line. We are never going back. Not spiritually, not emotionally, not in how we talk to the kids, not in how we frame this. We call it what it is and we move forward. That stance can easily bump up against Christine's more nuanced, more complicated feelings. Heartbreak rumors, fan speculation, and reality. Add to all this that Christine herself has spoken of heartbreak and how emotionally heavy the past few years have been. At one point, she described her year as heartbreaking, which kicked off a wave of rumors that she and David had split, which turned out to be false, but they showed just how ready fans are to believe that something might be wrong. When you combine David's aggressive position against polygamy, Christine's more complicated feelings, and ongoing legal/custody situation with Kody, her memoir that reveals more layers of pain, control, and addiction, plus the normal stress of combining big families, you get the perfect storm for fan theories like, they're fighting about how harsh to be on Kody. David wants to label everything abuse. Christine wants to soften it. There's tension over how they talk about polygamy with the kids. Do we know for a fact that they're screaming at each other over it? No. But is it realistic to imagine this being an ongoing, emotional topic in the marriage? Absolutely. What this means for their future. So, what does all this really mean for Christine and David? In my opinion, it comes down to how they handle three key pressure points. 1. How they talk about Kody in front of the kids. But if David goes too hard, he was abusive, he ruined everything, the kids can shut down or feel attacked. If Christine goes too soft, he tried his best, let's not judge, that could feel to her like she's minimizing her own trauma. They've got to find language that is honest, but not soul-crushing for the kids. 2. How they frame polygamy versus monogamy. Christine has said she was made for monogamy, and everything we've seen from her lately screams freedom and joy in her new life. Clearly, David is never going to entertain polygamy in any form. So the tightrope is calling out the damage polygamy caused in their lives, without making them feel that their whole family origin should be something to be ashamed of. 3. How much blame they place on the system. Versus on Kody himself, this is subtle but important. It would appear that David blames both a system of polygamy and the men who use it to control women. Christine at times seems to emphasize Kody's personality, his ego, his favoritism, his choices, rather than saying every polygamous man is the same. If they misalign here, you get those deeper philosophical arguments. Was it the religion or was it him? That's not just a TV conversation. That's a real late night, marriage-shaping argument. Final take and question for viewers, so here's my last word. David is the loud, protective, never again voice who wants to name the abuse and shut the door on it forever. Christine is the survivor who tries to get back her story, protect her kids, and rebuild a new life without totally trashing every good memory they ever had. Kody's control, financial, emotional, spiritual, is the shadow looming over every conversation they have about the past. Do I think Christine and David have real tension around polygamy and how harshly to frame Kody? Yes. Any couple in their position would think so. Do I think that means their marriage is doomed or that they're constantly fighting? No, it means they are human and healing and trying to rewrite an entire belief system while still living under the reality TV spotlight. All right, now I want to hear from you. Question of the video. Do you think Christine is softening the truth to protect Kody? Or does she want to protect her children and younger self from being defined by abuse alone? Are you team David is right, call it what it is? Or team Christine is allowed to hold both pain and gratitude for the past? Drop your thoughts in comments. I read every single one. If you're into deep dives on Sister Wives, Christine and David's marriage, and the fall of the Kody polygamy empire, then make sure you Smash that like button, subscribe for more Sister Wives breakdowns, court updates, and behind the scenes analysis. Hit the bell so you don't miss when we cover the next episode and any new bombshells from Christine's memoir. Thanks for watching, and remember, you don't have to stay in a story that's breaking you. You get to write a new one. I'll see you in the next video.